Hey, Coach Justin here, going to discuss core training today. A lot of us just had Thanksgiving dinner, and so we're doing what we can to work off those extra calories, and a lot of times that involves abdominal or core training. However, when we discuss what the abdominal area, what the core truly does, I'd like to start by discussing what it doesn't do. One, unfortunately, spot reduction. So if we have a little excess Thanksgiving sitting here, doing crunches and working the core isn't going to really get us slim again. A lot of the times when people train core, we lie on the ground and we do crunches, or we do that forward flexion. That's actually not a true function of the core. If anything, it reinforces poor posture. You know, think about sitting at work all day in that forward flexion, and then getting up and running slightly forward. All right, we don't want to run like this. We don't even want to sit like this, really. So why would we do crunches to reinforce that poor posture? So what we want to do when we train the core, work it as it functions, and it functions when it lengthens. All muscles function by lengthening. Think of them as rubber bands. If I want to turn on my musculature, I need to lengthen it. So the core, as activated, works best when I lengthen it. So believe it or not, this would be a much better exercise for my abs than this. On top of that, the core is more than just our abs. It's actually the entire muscle group from our hips up to our shoulders. So yes, the abs, the obliques, the chest, the shoulder, low back, upper back, hip flexors, those are all considered part of our core. And as I was saying before, if we want to truly work them as they function, we need to lengthen them, more specifically lengthen them in all three planes of motion. So that means I need to do something front to back. That means I need to do something side to side. It means I need to do something with rotation. If we want to get a little more sport specific with core training and running, then we want to pre-position our feet in an exaggerated running stride. I've never seen anyone run a half marathon or full marathon lying on their back or on their stomach. So if your idea is to train your core for runners, then why would you do the majority of your exercises lying on your stomach or on your back? So we want to get into that exaggerated running stride, and if I'm working my legs and my arms together, well, guess what's in between those two? My core. So chances are, if I'm here doing some sort of a shoulder press, or if I have sport cords and I'm doing a chest press and I'm rotating my hips and my shoulders and my arms, then I'm getting to my core and I'm actually activating it the way it was designed to move. So to summarize, to really truly activate our core, we want to lengthen it. We want to start with slower controlled motions and then build to a sport-specific speed. With rotation especially, sometimes people have low back pain going too quickly, or maybe having your hips a little bit too tight, like everyone out there does, can force us to go through the low back. So we want to start with control rather than speed. And since we run at relatively high speeds, we eventually want to get to that goal of being able to do some twisting, rotating, that front to back, those side to side movements for our core a little bit quicker. So in the second part of this video, we got some toys that we can use and show you a few fun core exercises. First exercise, as I was just saying, with our sport-specific core exercises, we want to get into somewhat of a running stride, or position our feet however we're going to use the feet in that particular sport, baseball, tennis, whatever that stance may be. Let's simulate that stance. This first exercise is called four-way X-chop, and it involves a squat to a rotation. So if I'm going for running, I want to take a medicine ball. You can use a dumbbell, hold it like you would hold an axe. I don't know anybody who's chopped down a tree recently, but if you have, you can grab it like an axe. And we want to squat and then rotate to the opposite shoulder. Squat, rotate to the opposite shoulder. As I said, we want to start with control. So in this split stance, as I'm squatting, the weight's pretty even on both my feet, so I can turn on my glute. I'm rotating this way, and then as I stand, I'm rotating the other way, and you can see the lengthening going on through the core. So that's what we call same side rotation, working towards the forward leg. I also want to repeat this with opposite side rotation, meaning that I finish away from that forward leg. Once again, squatting, rotating to the opposite shoulder. Show you with the dumbbell on the other side. So I would do anywhere from 10 to 20 repetitions each way. And then likewise, we're going to go here. I always say back pocket to the opposite shoulder. And then go into the same side rotation, squat to a rotation, almost like I'm trying to chuck this dumbbell over my shoulder. So that is the X chop. The next one is just an simple overhead swing. Or I say it's simple. But with this one, it's very similar to a kettlebell swing. So we're going to start with a half squat, and then we're going to go up and really lengthen through the core. Starting with control, and then eventually building into some speed. We can also make it a little more three-dimensional and add some rotation to it. And I can go over the right shoulder, over the left shoulder, and alternate those. We also call this a golf squat because I finish it very similar to how I would finish a golf swing. So there's two quick exercises for the core, 4-way X chop, and you could essentially make it a 3-way overhead swing using, this is about 6 pounds, that's a 10-pound dumbbell. So anywhere from that 5, if you want to challenge yourself, grab a 25-pound dumbbell and be very explosive with those. As I said, if you have low back issues, start slower and start with a slightly less range of motion, progress in the speed, progress in the weight, and then progress to that full end range. For the last part of our core demonstrations, I'm going to show a modified plank. Now I mentioned that if we want to be sport specific, we need to be on our feet in terms of training the core for running. But once in a while, it's all right to do some things in that plank position because we can still get a lot of chest, shoulders, core, abs, hip work being in that position, but we shouldn't do all of the exercises. So if you're doing 5 or 6 exercises for the core, only 1 or 2 of those should be in that either prone facing down or supine facing up position. So this is what we call upper and lower extremity reach matrix. So I'm going to reach with my arms in all 3 planes of motion, and then I'm going to reach with my legs in all 3 planes of motion, essentially making it a dynamic plank. So we start off in the nice strong plank position, and I'll start with the arms reaching forward. And I'm swinging my arm up a little bit as I'm reaching forward so I can lengthen through the core there. Now I'll go to that side to side or frontal plane, and I'm just going to push my hips opposite of the reach, doing my best. And you can see I'm even wobbly a little bit on these, but doing my best to keep my body perpendicular to the ground as I go side to side. The next one's that rotational component. So all I'm going to do here is reach under. If you want to challenge yourself a little bit more on these, grab a 5-pound dumbbell or move to the floor. If this is too difficult for you, move to a higher box or even hands on the wall. The last one is that opposite side rotation where I'm going here. Now I'm really lengthening the front core and at the same time getting some great shoulder and rotator cuff work. So that's the upper body. Likewise in the lower body, I'll start keeping my legs straight and just reaching up and back. And then I'll go side to side. Once again, doing my best to keep my body perpendicular. And then I'll do the 2 rotational ones. First one going on the front side, just going to go left foot to the right side, right foot to the left side. And then the last one, I'm going to go behind my other leg, getting a little bit more rotation. And if you want, if you have the back mobility, you can bring that one all the way up to a scorpion where you're attempting to get that heel all the way up to the opposite shoulder. So we have a few variations that we can do with these. On the ground is going to be a little bit more difficult. On a wall or a high box is going to be a little bit easier. At least 5 each direction, each hand, building your way up to 10 repetitions. And as with any part of the core, start slower and controlled, then eventually build a little bit more speed. To summarize core training, if we really want to turn on the core, if we really want to lengthen it, or we need to lengthen it to really turn it on. And we need to do so in all 3 planes of motion, that front to back, side to side, rotationally, We need to make sure the movements are controlled and then build speed, because it's movement and it's speed that are going to get us the sport-specific adaptations in the core section from our shoulders to our hips. So happy core training to you.